This here should be everything that I need to get my BMW E36 back on the road after 7 years. 7 years, 365 weeks or 2,555 days is a long time, especially for a car to be sat outside. So when I got the opportunity to save this abandoned BMW, I did, and I only had to pay £300 to do it. And now, after all that time, I'm about to get this thing back on the road once and for all and even drive it for the first time. But some things are a lot easier said than done. Oh no, we're overheating! Now, with BMW E36s becoming rarer and rarer by the day, parts can be quite hard to come by. So luckily, I've teamed up with eBay to get the car back on the road and being enjoyed again. So I managed to find all of these parts and more. And that is thanks to eBay Assured Fit. It made it so easy to find and choose parts knowing they're specifically for my car. I simply had to put my BMW's registration number into eBay and was given all the parts and accessories that had fit my car, even with it being so old. The amount of times I've ordered parts, waited days for them to arrive just to find out that they're wrong and they don't fit, with eBay Assured Fit, this is a worry of the past. The best bit is for whatever strange reason the part still doesn't fit, you're protected with eBay for free returns over 30 days. And if you're like me and always have multiple cars and projects on the go, with eBay I can add them all to my garage and simply switch between them easily. So if you want to save a massive 20% on MOT parts to get your car back on the road safely, then I'll leave the link down below in the description. Thanks eBay. Now we've got all the parts ready to go on, it's time to get the car up on the ramp ready to remove all the old components. This might not be fun. Now, all of this suspension and everything that's got to come off, at least hasn't been off in, I think, getting on 8 years now. So, I think we're going to have quite a bit of fun trying to do all these jobs to get it back on the road, but we're invested now, and I'm determined. And now the wheels are off, it's time to take a closer look at exactly what we've got ourselves in for. Okay, I think we're better to tackle the front first. Now, all of this, of course, has been on the car for a very long time. This car is getting on 30 years old, so we're going to come across a few stuck bolts, aren't we? It's just part of the game, unfortunately. It's an old car, but once it's done, it'll be done and we won't need to worry about it again. But we've got all of this suspension to go on the front because it's all in pretty bad condition that's already on the car. We've got the calipers to change, we've got the brake discs, brake pads to change, rear shocks. We've got a lot to do to get it back on the road. So let's start with trying to get the front calipers off. These bolts don't look happy. Before I get started, I just want to give Will a massive thank you for his time, effort and the ramp. Without all of those, I would have never been able to get all of these jobs done on this car. First, we're trying to remove the caliper. The 2 bolts holding the caliper to the carrier are covered, so they came out just fine. Now we're onto the bolts that hold the caliper carrier to the hub. These have been sat around for a very long time, and I'm just hoping that they don't round off. Yes! So far, so good, but now we're onto a bolt that I'm 100% sure is going to round off, and that is the bolt / screw that's holding the brake disc onto the actual hub itself. And with everything we're taking off, you can see bit by bit the result of leaving a car untouched for years upon years. But now I've got to try and undo the brake line from the caliper, and I really hope that this one doesn't snap because I didn't order any spares. It's gone. It's gone. Luckily, we managed to remove that caliper. Each and every bolt on this car could easily turn into a 3-hour job just trying to remove them.
so it's better we take our time instead of rushing and rounding them off. Now I'm removing the brake dust shields. Although these serve a purpose, these aren't mandatory for an MOT, so I'm leaving them off. And of course for these, the grinder had to make an appearance.
Well, we're looking a bit more like a car instead of the Titanic wreckage.
With all that out the way, it's time to start stripping down all of the suspension components. The track rod ends, the lower ball joints, drop links, all have to come off, and I think we're going to need a little bit of help from Fire.
Okay, final job on this side is taking the track rod end off, and on the new parts we've got the whole track rod. So we're taking it off from the joint to the steering rack, and we're just trying to find a spanner that's big enough. But this side, apart from the lower ball joint bolt that's stuck in the bottom of the hub, this side's actually been not bad, has it? Well, to say how old the car is, most of the bolts have come out pretty nicely. In fact, yeah, pretty much all of them have come out nicely. These struts slash shocks should be okay. We have got a few upgrades for them in another video, but yeah, so far so good, would you say? Yeah, so I think so far so good, but well, as long as these come off, and then we can move on to the other side, get the back stripped, and then tomorrow we'll be coming back and hopefully getting stuff put back on. But you found this spanner, mate?
Because the main nut on this track rod end is covered by a dust cover, Will can now loosen it pretty easily and then remove it. And that's that side stripped.
We need that. We need that. But that is the old one off. It's a bit naff as well, so it's probably a good job we are changing that. But yeah, that's that side done. Just got to do it again now.
Technically, the passenger side that we've just done should be a lot worse than the driver's side because it's closest to the curb. It collects more dust, more debris and more road salt, but because this car hasn't been on the road, both sides are as bad as each other, so we're just going to do exactly the same on the driver's side as we did on the other side, using heat, hammers, patience, and a grinder. The last two jobs on the driver's side are to remove the track rod end and then try and disconnect that brake line from the brake caliper, which was putting up a serious fight.
Yes! There we go, the front is fully stripped. Now, we haven't took these front shock absorbers off. They are very, very crusty, and I'm assuming they might just get advised for how they look. But the main thing is they're not leaking, and in the next video we've got some proper modifications going on this car, so it just don't make sense to spend like 200 quid on front shocks when these should pass, if not be advised. So they're staying in for now. They are really, really battered, but that's everything stripped off the front end. The calipers are off, and well, here's all the here's all the mess. The only thing we've got to do is take off this nut here and transfer this little bracket over to the nice, shiny, fresh new ones, because they bolt in to them holes there. So that's the only job left to do, but we're going to strip the backs before we start reinstalling anything at front. You can kind of see how aged these have gone. But yeah, I thought that'd be a lot worse, if I'm honest. I thought we'd have a lot of trouble with most of the bolts on the front end, but so far so good. Right, the backs. Over here, the reason I've got rear shock absorbers to go on is because these have pretty much collapsed. You can see them when the car is on the floor. The back just sits really low and the front kind of supports itself. We've got new shocks to go on. We don't need new springs because these look fairly new. I say new, obviously it's been sat for 7 years, but I'm assuming that before it sat, someone swapped them springs. We've got new discs and new pads with new calipers to go on as well. And I think that is everything for the back. So I'm hoping all of this comes off nicely and isn't a pain. Let's get to work.
So let's get the rear stripped. I'm doing the driver's side while Will is doing the passenger side. I'm starting by unbolting the caliper from the carrier, then I can take off the bolt for the shock absorber. Now I can take off the caliper carrier and the brake disc.
Last job on the rear is to unbolt the shock absorbers both sides from the inside, and then we've got the 14mm bolt holding in the brake lines. So first job, I'm going to do the inside of the boot.
And now that shock absorber is out, it's left us with one last job to do and one last bolt to take off, which is the bolt connecting the brake line to the caliper. These have been the toughest of all them so far, so I'm hoping that this last one comes loose.
Yes, it's gone. Yes! I genuinely thought today would be just a day of rounded bolts, stressing out and just trying to get bolts off all day. It's been quite successful, hasn't it? She's been good to me. She's been very good to me. That's it. That's the strip down complete.
With everything pretty much stripped down, I think it makes sense to tidy up and repaint a few parts. So I'm painting the caliper carriers front and back, and also going underneath the car and wire wheeling where things have started to look a little bit aged. Doing this should make the car just look that little bit nicer underneath.
We are now ready to start fitting everything back to the car, and again, thanks to eBay, I know that all of these parts are going to fit nice and snug. We've pushed the new bearings into the new what was it called? Lollipops. We've put the new bearings in the new lollipops. We've got all the calipers ready to go on, so all we've got to do is rebuild it all and put it back together. Should we start with the fronts or back, Will? Front. Start with the fronts.
The front should now be pretty easy to put back together as we aren't having to deal with extremely tight bolts. I'm refitting the wishbone, then we can fit the track rod end, then the drop links, and all of that bolts to the hub, so I'm refitting that as well. Also, if you're still watching this video and you're enjoying it so far, then hit that subscribe button down below as it helps me out massively.
Apart from calipers and discs, everything this side is on. We're just waiting for these little brackets to arrive. These should arrive tomorrow because they ended up snapping from the bolt, so it was just all spinning. But on the passenger side, we're not fully bolted down yet. We're going to get everything in place and then tighten everything up. But now we're on to the driver's side, and I'm not going to bore you with any more suspension work on the front because you've seen us do it on that side. So it should be done in 3, 2, 1. There we go. This side is all on. Everything is tight except the track rod ends because we're going to try and align it the best we can before we take it to the MOT. But everything this side is tight. Now we're on to putting the brakes on. So we have brand new front brake pads in here, and we have brand new brake discs in here. I don't know if these are the fronts or if these are the backs. These might be the backs because they look a little bit smaller, but yeah, I think disc on, then caliper carrier on, which I've sprayed outside, caliper on, and then discs and pads. It's coming together now. I'm just excited to drive it, but yeah, we'll get all the front done and then we can move on to doing the back. The back should be even easier than the fronts because it's just the rear shock and then caliper, pads and discs. But yeah, it's getting exciting now.
So like I said, on go the front discs, then I can refit the 2 bolts for the caliper carrier, and you guessed it, next is the caliper, not forgetting the brake pads. And once I've refitted the brake line, that's the left side finished. Now I can do the exact same thing for the right side. Now we're onto the rear. In goes the shock absorber, then the brake disc, followed by the caliper carrier, and of course the caliper with the brake pads. And the last job is the brake line. I've done the driver's side while Will is doing the other side, and once we're finished, that's almost the rebuild complete.
Right, okay, last job. They have arrived. These are the little brackets that we couldn't transfer over from the other wishbone. So what happens is this goes into that, and then this bolts up through the lower wishbone down here. And this should be the last job. So that bolts up into the wishbone, and that somehow goes in there, into the anti-roll bar, and Bob's your uncle. But that's it. We just need to tighten everything down, bleed the brakes, book it in for its MOT, I think. Oh, wheel arches as well, but...
This is it, the final job before I can actually drive this car on the road after all of those years. We're going to use a brake pressure bleeder to bleed all of the calipers, and once that job's complete, it's time to put the wheels back on and let the car back down to the floor.
The BMW is back on the floor once and for all. Now, I can't drive it yet, and I was about to take it for the MOT, but we've got a little problem. So, obviously the battery keeps dying, and I have actually found out why. If I just plug the jump pack in, for some reason, and I've found the reason, it's doing this. If I turn the ignition on, as you can see, no one's in the car, and the brake lights are just constantly on. That's why the battery keeps dying. So, I think I found the problem. If you have a look under here, this here is something called a brake light switch. And in fact, I can actually unplug it. Now, what this is meant to do is it sits where the brake pedal is, and when the pedal is not applied, there will be pressure on this switch here. In fact, I think I've just fixed it. I think I've actually just fixed it. I think that's actually just fixed itself. It was just stuck.
Is it not going to get...
So that's what it's meant to do, which it is now doing, and it was just stuck on. Hold on, wait, that might have just fixed itself. Right, let me get this back in, and I'll see if that actually works. Right, if I turn this on now, and the brake light's on. Are they working?
Yeah.
What, both perfectly? There we go. We have no longer got an issue. That was the issue, and I'd already actually ordered a brake light switch, and we couldn't get it until tomorrow, but for some reason it was just jammed. So for now, I think that is actually ready for its MOT, and fingers crossed it passes, but we won't be able to do that now until tomorrow because we've missed the slot. So cut until tomorrow, where we're driving this for the first time.
The last time this car was driven on the road was on the 27th of October 2017. That was over 2,850 days ago, and now for the first time since, I'm going to drive it once again, but it wasn't for long.
Oh, I hope it passes. I mean, we've pretty much changed every bush, every arm, every link, like pretty much everything that had gone bad, so it should pass, to be honest. I don't see why it wouldn't. We obviously need an alignment, but with what I've got planned, there's kind of no point aligning it in its current state. But we've got the sunroof open and we're back on the road, man. This is mental. This is mental. We've got 15 minutes until we get to the MOT station, and then we'll drop it off and keep our fingers crossed. But I'll let it get to temperature. Hopefully it stays at temperature. I don't even know if the reason this car got parked up was a head gasket issue or something like that. I guess we're about to find out, but I'll let it get up to temperature. I think it'd be a little bit rude not to do a first pull in the abandoned E36. As if it's back on the road after all that, man.
And I'm not sure how long the car had been doing it, but after I did the first pull, I noticed something that was definitely going to stop us in our tracks.
Here we go, first pull, second gear. Oh no, we're overheating. We're overheating bad. We're in the red. No! No. We're overheating. Oh, and I'm on the main road. This is really bad.
The coolant temperature needle was all the way to the red, giving me a warning on the dashboard, so I had no option but to simply turn the car off in the middle of the road. This was bad. To make things worse, the car completely died after I turned it off because the battery was so weak, but I had no other option. And to make things even better, the police had just turned up and this car has no MOT and it's not taxed. The police were amazing and just wanted to make sure that everyone was safe and helped to guide the traffic until the car had cooled down. Luckily, I managed to jump start the car again and drive back to Reg Plate King, but on the way it overheated again. At least I know that all the parts that we've spent fitting in this video from eBay fit perfectly and have gave us that next step in getting this car back on the road. But it looks like there's a few more things that are gonna need fixing.
Everything that could have gone wrong has just gone wrong. Unfortunately, for some reason, the car's overheating. The police ended up coming and blocking the road. Shout out to them, actually, they were really sound. And yeah, for some reason, the car just keeps overheating. I don't know why.
Something is definitely not right with this car, whether it's a sensor, the thermostat, the radiator, I'm not entirely sure, but at the moment I can't actually find any coolant leaks, so I'm a little bit confused. At this point, I'm about 5 minutes away from Reg Plate King, so I've just got to wait for the car to cool down and just hope that it doesn't go bang on the way back.
All of that work, man. But this is one of the things, isn't it? It's not been driven in 7 years. I'm the one that's going to be like the test dummy to see whether it's going to make it or not. But I don't even feel hot. I wonder if it's just a sensor. I think it might just be a sensor, but I'll just let the needle drop again and yeah, we'll take it back.
And on the way back, of course, the car overheated and ended up boiling the coolant out of the top of the radiator.
For some reason, it's overheating, and at the moment, I don't know why. I don't know if it's something thermostat, I don't know if it's coolant temp sensor, I don't know if it's any other sensor. There's definitely coolant in it, I think. There's pressure in it. But, yeah, maybe, I think the most obvious thing to just try and do is bleed it again. I think when I originally bled the coolant and did a flush, I don't think I had the heaters on, so maybe we've just got a massive airlock somewhere in the cooling system that needs to come out. So I think that might be the first port of call. I definitely didn't use this little bleed valve here. I definitely did not use that. I just kind of left the cap off, let it get up to temperature, and then hope for the best. So I think we should do that.
This time I've got to bleed the coolant system properly, so I'm putting the heaters on max and the blowers on full power. Then I can crack open the bleed screw and wait for any trapped air to escape and hope that this works, and already the needle has started to move.
Well, it's just starting to get up to temperature, but there's no heat at all coming through those air vents. None at all. It's meant to be on 32. And it's still ice cold. I wonder if it's the thermostat.
Then I noticed a bit of coolant come out of the bleed screw, which could be all we need to get the car back at temperature.
It's currently at temperature. They're like not hot, but they're kind of warm. I think I'm just going to take it for another drive and just see what it does. Maybe that's worked, maybe it hasn't. But at the moment it's staying at temperature and it's not overheating, so yeah, let's give it a go.
All I can do now is try again and hope that it's let enough of that trapped air escape.
Right, we're currently still at temperature. The lights on the dashboard are still on, but I think once we start driving it, they might go off. I think it's just because the battery is so low and the only thing keeping it alive at the minute is the alternator. So when there's charge back in the battery, I've got a feeling they might go off. So let's give it a go. As long as it doesn't overheat, I should be able to make it to the MOT station, but let's give it a go. Please don't overheat.
And after driving it again for a few minutes, I started to get a little bit hopeful that I might have solved this problem.
Well, so far so good. It's not overheating.
So I decided to carry on driving to the MOT station. The only issue is the last time I drove the car when it overheated, I didn't actually realise at the exact point where it started to go over the temperature. So I'm just going to keep driving and keep my fingers crossed.
Seems okay so far. It's definitely not overheating, it's just sat bang on in the middle. Have we got heat through the... Still no heat through the vents.
If the car's not overheating but there's no hot air coming through the air vents, this would normally mean that there's still trapped air in the coolant system, or there's a problem with the heater matrix itself. Maybe it's blocked, but then it all went wrong.
Oh, it's creeping up. Oh. Yeah, we're about to overheat again. It's at the top quarter. Yeah, it's... Oh. Yeah, we're overheating again. Right. It must be the thermostat. It has to be the thermostat. Yeah, we're about to go into the red. And the lights on the dashboard haven't gone for some reason.
Although I wanted to get this car back on the road and being enjoyed again, it's clear that some things are not meant to be, and there's still some issues that need addressing with this car. Unfortunate, but I guess this is part of the game.
Overheating again. Look. We're in the red again, we're overheating, and there's still no heat coming from these vents. It has to be the thermostat. It has to be, because for there not to be hot air coming through the vents, it means that the coolant isn't getting through to the heater matrix, which allows the hot air to come into the cabin. That's what my guess is. And the lights on the dashboard haven't yet disappeared, so they're either definitely problems, or the car just needs a new battery again. So close. I want to find out if there's actually pressure. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, there's definitely pressure in that. You can hear it. Yeah, I'm not going to touch that. I think that's definitely overheating. Yeah, it's literally bubbling. You know what, I'm going to close the bonnet before that explodes.
Although I wasn't able to get the car back on the road just yet, the parts from eBay helped me resolve issues like the brake pads and a few of the suspension components, so at least next time we attempt to get this car on the road, it's less things to worry about.
Maybe the BMW just needs a little bit more work until we can actually get it back on the road again. I think I jumped the gun a little bit and just expected, by doing the suspension and not actually road testing the engine and gearbox and things, that I could just get it back on the road and go and get it through an MOT, but it doesn't look like that. It's going to be the case. I really wanted to properly send it in this video, but I can't get the parts that I need to fix it until next week, so we're a little bit stuck for now. But I guess if you did enjoy this video, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. I'm well upset. Peace.
So the next time you're trying to get your car through its next MOT, then remember that with eBay you can find the right part at the right price. So shop MOT parts on eBay and get 20% off until the 31st of October.